here on behalf I'm here on behalf of the Secretary, Randy Romansky. Randy wasn't able to be here because he's traveling today, but he asked me to be here to underline just how important what you're doing is. We certainly have learned in the past several years how important and valuable local food systems are, local food system partnerships in particular. You form the backbone of those partnerships, obviously, and our grant program is designed to support you and hopefully build a resilient system that can last for years to come. So our job at DATCP is to help as a resource, and one of the ways we can do that is through this webinar today. So I will do a brief intro to the folks on the call.
That would be the other one.
Hold on. Maybe a reminder.
There's some old ones in my hand.
I'm gonna mute everyone, and then if you want to unmute yourself, Mike. There you go.
Anyway, I'm just going to do a real quick intro. They'll intro themselves. More of the folks from DATCP will be helping today from our Economic Development and Innovation Center. Katie Croft is our newest team member. She's going to lead the LFPA program into the next season as the program coordinator. April Yancer, who serves as our farm to school and institution specialist. Andrew Bernhardt, who works to support multiple areas. And then Kara Caston-Olson is our Economic Development and Innovation Center lead. So those are the folks who are here to help you today, and I'm looking forward to seeing all that you come up with. So thanks for giving me a few minutes, and I'll let you get to it.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike. As Mike said, I'm April Yancer. I'm the Farm to School and Institution Program Specialist. I've been working on the Wisconsin LFPA program since we received funding from the USDA. The purpose of this program is to strengthen food and agricultural supply chains in Wisconsin and distribute fresh, nutritious foods to underserved communities. The goals of the program are to support local producers and processors by expanding economic opportunities and strengthen connections between our local food partners. What we have been focusing on over the past year is the partnerships that need to be in place to build supply chains. We work with Wisconsin producers. So far, we've had a producer first program approach. We work with community organizations, distributors, and food security partners. We can't emphasize enough the value we have found in these partnership developments in providing experience and market access for our Wisconsin growers. The goal of the program is that 80% of the product is sourced from socially disadvantaged and historically underserved producers. In our first round, we started with a direct-to-farmer grant program, and that was run by farmers applying and selling high-quality products to the program through a contract that was established with Marbleseed. Marbleseed is our partner for farmer outreach, technical assistance, and education for producers. They work really hard to connect producers to resources, and they subcontract with community organizations to help them accomplish these goals. The Wisconsin Food Hub Cooperative is our distribution and logistics partner. They receive the product, review the quality of the product, and they distribute and develop relationships with food access partners. They also subcontract to accomplish these goals by working with other aggregators and distributors. We also work with food access programs to understand what products they need. They receive food from the Food Hub and partners, and some directly from farmers. They also provide us with distribution data, which communities they're reaching, how much food they receive. They provide bill of ladings to confirm that they have indeed received the food that is being invoiced for. They provide education, they connect us to communities, and they give us a tremendous amount of feedback on what we can do as we develop the program to be successful. And last but not least, we work with the Wisconsin Farmers Union. They are our communication partner. They manage our website and our social media, all our outward facing communications, and they have worked to build networks around the state. And I'm going to pass it over to Forrest from the Farmers Union to talk a little bit more about the work that they've done and how you can find out more about the program.
Hey everybody, thanks a lot, April. So I want to just start by talking about our website, wilocalfood.org. That's what it looks like right there on the screen. That's kind of our one-stop shop for all information related to the LFPA program, all of the resources that we have available for you all, any upcoming events, and of course, links to the applications for the next year of the program. I highly encourage you to check it out. One cool thing that we have on the website is if you could go to the next slide, we have a dashboard of the program impact so far. So this is through October of this year. We have served 37 counties. We have delivered 184 different types of products. That's everything from produce to meat to value-added products. 120 growers have participated in the program at this point. 50 hunger relief sites have received deliveries. And look at that, almost $800,000 worth of food has been delivered. So that's pretty cool. I did want to give one anecdote that I heard from a food pantry a couple weeks ago. We were working on a project with them, and that was that they really appreciate some of the niche products that are being delivered through this program. So growers who really specialize in just a couple things have been providing really amazing, a diverse array of produce into the program, and people are really appreciating that. So very proud of that little anecdote from a food pantry. And yes, I'm seeing in the chat, can we put the website in the comments, please? I'll put a link to the website in there. Give me 1 second. So yeah, that's the website. If we can go to the next slide. I want to talk a little bit about our network development work. So I'm going to turn it over to Julie Hines in just a second. She's our database coordinator. But one of the things we've been able to do through this program is create the Wisconsin Local Food Directory. So this is a directory of LFPA members and Farmers Union members. And it's a great way to connect farmers with food security organizations and programs and communities all over the state. We're really focused on building those connections, building those social networks, and making sure that our local food systems can thrive. So I'll turn it over to Julie and she can talk a little bit about how that all works.
Thanks, Forrest. Yes, I'm Julie Hines. I am the database coordinator for the LFPA program, and I handle the directory. So basically reaching out to our LFPA members and letting them know that I am available to assist you with getting your directory listing the way that you would like to see it out on the website. Again, my contact information is out there, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I am very excited to assist you with any questions you have on the directory. And I will turn it over to Eric.
Oh, hi, I'm Eric. I work at the Wisconsin Food Hub Cooperative. We function as the logistics and distribution channel for the LFPA. So as the slide says, there are over 120 farmers who have sold product in the LFPA program so far this year. The growers we're working with vary greatly in background, farm type, and experience level. We have some more experienced farmers with fully functioning farms and smaller growers who might have limited direct marketing background. But one function of the LFPA program has been to act as a stepping stone towards wholesale readiness through training and understanding of wholesale standards and expectations. We've seen a lot of growth from the farms that we've been working with this season as the quality of their products, packaging, and forecasting that we've been receiving has continued to improve with education throughout the year. It's been really inspiring to see all the hard work and dedication that's been displayed by the farmers that we've been working with so far. And as you can see by the map, we're across the entire state right now. It's really, really cool to see just all the different diverse backgrounds that everyone comes from, the types of farms that people are working on, the products that they're pushing into the program. It's been very cool to see the whole thing. So I can have the next slide, please. So the LFPA food access distribution sites that we work with, there's over 50 of them right now, and they also, much like the farms we've been working with, vary in size and the capacity that they're able to move through. We have some that are just small local pantries, and then we have others that are massive food distribution sites. So when you see the blue markers on the map, it doesn't necessarily give you the idea that some of these food banks have the capacity to reach. They're spreading through multiple areas all around in big ranges outside of those specific locations. But it's been also really inspiring to see the connections between the small farms and the local food pantries. It seems that a lot of the farmers are really enjoying working with these small farms and these pantries, and we've seen a lot of them develop personal relationships with the pantries that they've been working with. Go to the next slide, please. So these are just 4 examples of the distribution routes that we have throughout the state. There's approximately 15 of them right now, and they do vary a little bit, but it gives an idea of the way our routes work. And part of the reason that these routes are so important is because they integrate the established distribution routes that we already have for wholesalers into what the small farms are using for distribution to pantries. So as the farmers potentially transition into wholesale readiness, they're understanding the way the routes work a little bit better, in addition to, in some cases, partially already being on a route that they might be using in the future. So as a side note, we've actually had a number of inquiries from some of the farms as far as getting into wholesale. And we have some farmers that have actually started projecting out to us and going through the paperwork. So some of the LFPA growers from the season are already making the transition into attempting to work towards wholesale. So that's also very cool. And I'm going to pass it off to Tay at Marbleseed.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tay Fatke. I work for Marbleseed as one of the LFPA specialists. Here to talk about the Direct to Farmer grant as we enter the 2nd year of working directly with farmers on the Wisconsin LFPA program. So the Direct to Farmer grant is administered by Marbleseed. For the 2024 season, the contract awards will range from $5,000 to $25,000. Contracts include everything from pricing, the payment schedule touches on product quality, procurement, and distribution procedure agreements. So what we'll be doing this year in the contract is really, putting everything in so everything is a little more upfront and that we have a clear picture for the season and what is all included and what is expected from the producers in 2024. Benefits of participating in the program as a farmer in this grant is training, technical assistance, community and network building, working with food system and hunger relief partners, and feed underserved communities. So, we're here for you to work with you on building your wholesale capacity, on connecting you with your local community and your food access organizations, and really feel that you're doing great work with feeding your underserved communities. So an ideal applicant for this program has some wholesale experience or has the ability to really increase their wholesale opportunities, and they're interested in expanding their business to farm to food access programs. So really looking at making those connections and scaling up their farm in that respect. On the application, there is a scoring rubric that you can reference to show, what ideal candidates for the program, what that includes as well. Next slide, please. So some of the requirements for the direct to farmer grant. So if you have any licenses for wholesaling products such as honey, maple syrup, if you're producing eggs, just to have the applicable licenses to be able to sell wholesale. There is an answer to the FAQ on the different licenses that are required. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to an LFPA specialist and we can walk you through what is required there. There is a requirement to have $1 million of general liability insurance. So that is for each farmer to have. If you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out to us as well. Through Farmers Union, there's opportunity as members to take in Hastings Farm Mutual and receive a discount. A good contact for that if you have any questions about how that works through Wisconsin Farmers Union. And then that general liability insurance isn't required at the time of applications, but just would be required at the time you start sending product into the program. So just know if you don't have it right now, still you can apply and then work towards achieving that prior to sending product in through the program. Required to follow food safety practices and sign a food safety letter or guarantee. There's no certification requirement for food safety, but we do ask that you follow best practices and sign that letter of guarantee, which we'll be sending out at time of completing the contract. And then certainly if there's any questions you have on food safety or you're looking for technical assistance on that, that's what we're here for, to build your food safety programming on your farm. So all producers will be slotted into a route at the beginning of the season. So we'll be able to see where all farms are located and kind of come up with a plan with when you'd be picked up and at what route you're on through the Wisconsin Food Hub Cooperative. So when projecting out your products for the season, we ask for 1 week in advance to let us know what you would have for the beginning of the season. That doesn't, or for that week. It doesn't have to be absolutely correct. We understand that there's kind of a learning curve to understanding what you will absolutely have for the following week. And of course, you can put that into Food Hub, let them know what you have, and then tweak it as it gets a little closer, just so everybody's on the same page. And that would be no later than Thursdays as well. So if, let's say, you want to pick up next week, Friday, the following week on Friday, we ask that you get that in on Thursday and not Friday, because Friday is when Eric will be doing the routes for the week, and it's a lot easier to just have that all done on one day instead of adding folks in closer to when that pickup is needed. So all products need to be palletized before the truck arrives, and no boxes should be more than 50 pounds. So there in that picture you can see different size boxes. We ask that products are packed to specifications, and that they're, we don't want to make it any harder on the drivers if they do have to move any of those products, and especially in the warehouse when they're moving products around. We want them to be easy to move and accurate for what the product is, packed in the applicable packaging. So provide an accurate invoice on the day of sale. So whether that's handing it off to the driver that's picking up your product, or sending that to Food Hub the day of, this helps you get paid faster. It helps us, manage where the products, manage how much procurement we are running through the program, and just allows for a lot quicker turnaround for everything. So the day of, we are requiring that invoice. And end users, the signed bill of lading from the end users must be received, and it must match the invoice to process the farmer payments. So we want to see that they match the invoice and that signed BOL from the end user, and then that lets us initiate those payments. Let me see this last one. Okay. And lastly, just responding to any communications in a timely manner. You know, if we're reaching out, just to get back to us as quickly as possible. I know inboxes get full, and you know, we are missed on some voicemails, but just as soon as you can to respond to us here at the program, it just helps move everything along swimmingly. So new this year for the Direct to Farmer grant are these educational sessions. So these are wholesale readiness sessions that we'll have across the state. So if you are awarded to produce for the program, we ask that you attend one of these options across the state. So we have some dates and locations already figured out. And then we will be adding these in the next few weeks to just put around the state that you attend one of these. We will have a virtual option as well. We're just still figuring that out. We're trying to get, you know, can we get videos from these trainings to include in it and how that will work. So we're working towards that. It is a requirement just because it helps everybody get on the same page for requirements, not only for wholesale success, but also specifics for the Direct to Farmer program through LFPA. So it just allows us all to get on the same page and know what the requirements are. So there you will see when we are hoping to have these dates, and you know, we'll be putting that together soon, and it'll be all listed on the website. So there's an idea of where they will all be prior to we're accepting producers into the program. So there is, similar to last year, there will be the producer gathering at the Marbleseed Organic Farming Conference. This will be on Thursday, February 22nd in La Crosse, Wisconsin. There will be travel and registration support for LFPA awardees. We're still looking at what that will be exactly, but we'll be sure to make that apparent when we are accepting producers into the program. So full conference details can be found at the link. Registration is not open yet. But certainly if you have any questions about what the conference is, you can check that out. And if we'll just get you more updated information as it gets closer. So then when we're looking at who can apply for the Direct to Farmer grant, it would be for-profit farm businesses. So nonprofit farms, unfortunately, would not meet the requirements for this program, but that's why we do have some other options that we'll touch on a little later into this session. The application is on wilocalfood.org. That if you, we'll need to check, I think there's the paper copy on there as well, but if you'd rather have a paper copy, please reach out to an LFPA specialist and we can send that over. The application deadline is 5 p.m. Wednesday, November 22nd, so just about in a month here. And farmers will be notified by mid-December of their acceptance into the program. And then we are looking at, you know, completing the contracts and getting all required paperwork back from the producers by mid-January. So really hoping to, you know, get that all in place prior to some of these educational sessions across the state. So under this Direct to Farmer grant, we at Marbleseed are looking for community support organizations to contract with that can provide outreach to farmers. So whether that's applying for the program or assisting farmers in participation, also providing technical assistance and farm to food access network connections. So we worked with community support organizations this past year all across the state, and it's really beneficial for them to participate, and they know their growers, they know how to support their growers and provide technical assistance. So it's really great that we're able to contract with these these organizations to provide this support. So more information on that can be sent to Victoria at Marbleseed, and her information is there below. And otherwise, I will pass it on to Katie.
Perfect. Thank you, Tay. My name is Katie Kracht. I'm the Wisconsin LFPA coordinator for DATCP. I am new into this position and very excited to be here and working with all of our great partners and this great grant program. So I will be talking about the Community Partner Grant Program. In our first year, we really established the Direct to Farmer Grant Program that Tay just talked about. In addition, we added the Community Partner Grant Program to fund community-based projects with strong partnerships between Wisconsin farmers, Wisconsin processors, community organizations, aggregators and distributors, and food access programs. We really learned in round one, many food access programs around the state are interested in the Direct to Farmer Grant. So now we now hope the Community Partner Grant will be more accessible for these food access programs. The Community Partner Grant is administered by DATCP. We have 30,000 to 300,000 awards via competitive grant process for projects to work in partnership to purchase Wisconsin grown, raised, or minimally processed food and distribute it at no cost to Wisconsin underserved communities. At least 70% of the funds are to be used for food procurement, with 80% sourced from socially disadvantaged or other historically underserved producers and processors. All foods purchased must be sourced from Wisconsin. Community Partner Grant really prioritizes projects that procure and distribute local food from socially disadvantaged producers and processors in the same community where food is grown, raised, or processed to support community-based networks, to underserved communities not normally served through traditional food distribution networks, and to underserved communities in the most food insecure counties, which is identified by the Wisconsin Security Project. And we have this website connected here that you can visit that to get really a good visual of the most food insecure counties. Community Partner Grant funding priorities are really to purchase food sourced from multiple Wisconsin producers and then aggregate and distribute that food. The implementation of food procurement and distribution projects. We really emphasize partnerships, especially community partnerships that have joint decision-making processes in place where all supply chain partners really work together collaboratively, and roles for all supply chains must be outlined and systems and infrastructure in place. This grant will allow funding to producer education. If gaps in wholesale readiness exist, then projects must have a plan to provide additional support so that all supply chain partners can successfully distribute food to underserved communities in Wisconsin. This includes education, technical assistance, and this must be directly connected to and necessary to achieve program goals and project deliverables. For the Community Partner Grant, ineligible expenses include food sourced from non-Wisconsin producers, indirect administrative or overhead costs, any equipment that costs more than $5,000, capital expenditures, consultant or contractor fees for capital expenditures, construction, renovation, or marketing, plane travel, hotel stays, and per diems, and lastly, general producer, processor, or other local development education. This grant will not fund projects that do not have partnerships in place, partnership development or planning, and food used for sales of any kind. For the Community Partners Grant, who can apply? So this grant allows nonprofit organization, a food access program, local food aggregator or distributor, or local, regional, or tribal government. Ineligible applicants, individual producers or processors. Instead, they are encouraged to partner with eligible applicants to apply. And how to apply is, again, we have the wisconsinlocalfood.org, our website, and you will find the application and the RFP on that website. Application deadline is 5 p.m. on Wednesday, November 22nd, which again is close to a month. And applicants will be notified if awarded December of this year or January 2024. Awardees must attend the in-person project orientation meeting we will be hosting, and awardees must attend 2 virtual check-ins, preseason and mid. Lastly, we have our Thursday virtual LFPA office hours that we will be hosting October 26th, November 2nd, November 9th. And these will be from 12 to 1 is the direct to farmer grants, and 1 to 2 p.m. is the community partner grants. We do have the registration for the Zoom link here. When you register, there is a drop down button for the 3 days. So make sure you notice to click on all 3 days if you're interested. And any additional information, you can reach me at my email below. I will be available for any questions that way. Lastly, unless my LFPA team has any other comments, we are open for questions.
Thank you, Katie. I just, for those interested in attending the office hours, I just put in the link to those for you, so an easy place to register. So we were trying to answer questions as they were coming in. Ben, I see you have your hand raised if you want to go ahead and start.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Ben Lee. I work for United Way of Marathon County. And we've been recipients of LFPA food orders through Red Door Family Farm. And it's been great. We actually could take 20 to 50,000 more pounds of food and continue to distribute it. One of the pieces of feedback I just wanted to just kind of put out to the group was deliveries are really difficult to make sure that somebody is there. So for example, I get communication with our local farm that the LFPA truck left. And we're 45 minutes from town, but I don't know how many stops he has in between. Sometimes, so for example, today, I just got a text while I was on this call that the LFPA order is on its way, and I have to be there to accept that and sign that bill of lading. And sometimes it's now, noon, and sometimes it's 7 p.m. And it's hard to know. So I don't know. I understand, especially looking at your maps, that is a complicated delivery logistics schedule. But if there's a way for maybe the drivers to communicate with me and let me know hey, when are you going to be there? I'm happy to meet them there at any time. It's just to know when they're going to be there, because the worst thing I would hate to happen is they get there sooner than I'm expecting and then they leave and I can't accept that order. Where they're delivering it to, we're not always sure that someone's going to be there to accept the delivery, especially on a Friday. People go home earlier or whatever the case is. And so I have no problem, just packing my kiddos up and being hey, we got to go and pick up the veggies and meeting them down there at 6. It's just knowing that they're going to be there. And so that's just one piece of feedback. We've been able to make it work for this whole season. But just want to share that. The other question I did have was, we run, so we take all the LFPA produce, we distribute it out to 37 different pantries in Marathon County. We offer it out to them, and we have a 16-foot box truck, so we can also deliver things to them, and we're big fans of this. If I were to apply for the Community Partners Grant, am I allowed to apply for 2 programs that we run in one application, or does it need to be 2 separate applications? Because I also at United Way run a mobile food pantry that is 100% stocked on produce, and we go right to low income neighborhoods to distribute that produce. Would I be able to put both of those programs, our regular distribution and our mobile pantry, into one application, or should I separate them out?
Great. Thank you, Ben. I think Eric, do you have any feedback to start on the first point of like distribution and delivery? Is there anything you want to add there, or maybe that's a conversation you guys have offline?
Oh, Ben, as long as you let us know your personal number, we can absolutely have a driver reach out to you with an ETA.
Perfect. And I'll give that far and wide, because we did have a driver who was communicating with me and it worked great, but then we got a different driver. And so it was just kind of hard to keep up. So cool.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. We have a lot of different people who are accepting goods, and sometimes I think we see the same communication issues that you see anywhere where there's a number of different individuals that you're dealing with. So the person that we might communicate with via email is not necessarily the warehouse manager. So we're building those networks currently. We have lists and lists of phone numbers that we're compiling throughout the season. So Ben, just reach out to me and I'll make sure that we get that as part of your delivery information.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, no problem.
Great. And then to your second question, Ben, I don't know if Katie or April wants to answer that, and how we see that, if it should be one application or two applications. My guess is because if it's one organization, it would be one application, but Katie or April, if you want to weigh in on your thoughts on that one.
Yes, I'll weigh in, Ben. So one application for your organization that outlines your entire project, which could have a couple of different distribution models included in it, and all of your partnerships that are involved. So who your farmers are, who your, all of the people that are part of your project, and you could include those two different lines of distribution in your project.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Sheena, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, I guess I'm still wondering what the role, or if there is any role, for nonprofit farms. A little information about our specific situation. We're a nonprofit farm and we share agricultural space with 3 for-profit farmers that are all qualified and working through the LFPA program as producers. And they actually distribute with us through a program that we have and a partnership that we have to local community for no cost produce in the area. And so, yeah, they're all part of the program already, and we've been struggling to see how we might be able to be involved, and if there just isn't a role for actual nonprofit producers.
I'm not sure if Tay or April thoughts on this one.
Yeah, am I muted? Can you hear me?
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, Sheena, Katie and Andrew and I talked about this. And is Andrew on the call or no?
He said
he might be good.
He was going to be joining late because he was double booked, but he will be on at some point.
Okay, great. I think he's, really knows the ins and outs of the details on this, but there is a role for nonprofit farms. You can't pay yourself to buy food from yourself, but you can look at, if you look at the application and you look at the role your nonprofit farm wants to play, and find your partnership. So in your situation, we might encourage you to have your end user be the applicant and be purchasing from you as a nonprofit farm, or find ways. So you just can't play multiple roles in that partnership. It's really about all those partnerships coming together, all those partners coming together, figuring out the role that each partner will play. And you may shift who applies based on what your roles are determined to be.
Okay, so to clarify, if our distribution partner applied and did the purchasing from all 4 of the farms, the 3 that already is doing the purchasing, they could purchase from us as a nonprofit farm?
Correct, yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, and I see Andrew is just joining, but we can maybe follow up a little bit more offline if you want more clarification.
Great, thank you.
So Julie, you had your hand up next.
Okay, can I unmute?
Yep,
Can you
you're
now?
good. Yep.
Thank you. So I just have a quick question. I was an LFPA recipient this year, and then I'm looking forward to applying again. And I was looking at the application form, and it seems to me that I'm a little confused. Do I need to submit a price list with the application, and how do I do that? Because I don't really see a spot for that or a way to attach a list to that application. I'm looking at the online version. So can someone help me with that, please? Thank you.
Yeah, so we do ask that you submit pricing and then projections for the season. I believe on there, and I will double check it. There's an email listed for localfood@marbleseed.org where you can send those directly to. So that's where we receive the applications to, and then we can manage that inbox to look for the price sheets and the projections that we can put in your folder then as an applicant.
Okay,
So
thanks. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I will put that in the chat here, that email address, and then I'll make sure, double check that it's somewhere on the application, but it might be more towards the bottom where that email is listed.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, Hayden, I am sending when I submit the application, I can send separately to this email address my price list. Okay, because I did reach out to them to ask for the price list and I never got an answer. So okay.
Yeah. The price reference sheet will be coming out next week. We're just in the final touches and approval on that.
Okay, thank you. And then you'd prefer us using that as opposed to just sending in our own price list, which is really simple in my case? Like, do you?
Yeah, you can send your specific price list. The reference sheet will just be simply that, a reference sheet for like what typical wholesale prices for products are with the specifications of products as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Michael, you had your hand up next.
Hi there.
Hey, how you doing?
We just had a couple questions. The first one was, maybe you can give us some examples of what you kind of foresee the community partner grant going towards. We're just looking at the ineligible expenses. So if it can't help with equipment costs more than 5,000 or capital expenditures to kind of help build the infrastructure of your farm, I guess, what do you guys see that money actually going towards?
Yeah, I can answer that one. The money is 70% of the budget of the, so to back up, the community partner grant is for community partners to apply together. So it would not be for a farm to apply for on their own, but for an entire project. And in that project, 70% of the money that's received is to go towards food purchasing. And then the remaining part of the money could be used for, other things such as distribution or farmer education or some administrative cost, or potentially some equipment that's under $5,000.
Okay, so what, I guess, what are some examples of projects that are happening? Or, I mean, this is something you would have to go out and create with something in your community. Is that the expectation?
Yeah, we saw in round one that there were a lot of farm to food access projects that already existed, where there was maybe a nonprofit community organization that had a relationship with their farmers and was distributing local food in their community. And they were not eligible to apply because they were not farmers. So we kind of created this second track so that those existing projects or projects that were emerging where there were farmers and who were already distributing to nonprofit organizations or food access programs or working with a distributor, where there was already this farm to food access kind of supply chain that had been developed on a community level, that they could apply for funding for their project. So if you are, I know you applied, you were a direct LFPA producer last year, correct?
Yep.
So if you had, if you were looking to work within your local community and kind of like a localized LFPA, you could connect directly with your food access program that's receiving your food, or a local distributor that you already work with for other businesses, and kind of put together a project to submit.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had been approached with this question, and this is from a principal here at Tomah one of the high schools or the middle school, but she approached me that she thought there was some funding available through, and it might have been through DATCP. So she was asking me if I was able to produce for the school. And that was kind of how that question, we're questioning this because I had been approached on that. And that, to me, that seems like a community partnership. Is that correct? Or am I offline on that? Or?
Yeah, that's correct. So there's two lines of answers for that part of your question. One is there's, in addition to the LFPA, there's also a local food to schools funding that schools have received. So if they have that funding at the Toma school, they can purchase directly from you with the local food to school program. Also within the LFPA program, if you wanted to create a community project where food was being distributed in partnership with the school for families to take home, as opposed to going into their school kitchens, then that is an activity that is allowable within the LFPA program. The LFPA program cannot fund products that go into the school nutrition program. So it would be, some schools have like backpack programs, so you could supply for their backpack program that sent food home to families, or a CSA box that was distributed, you know, when families picked up kids at the end of the day, kind of thing.
And then one last question, are with the LFPA program next year, is it still going to be allowed to do self-deliveries to your local pantry, or is it, I didn't see that on the slide, so, or is it only through pickups with the food hub?
So self-delivery can be accepted as long as there's that refrigerated transport requirement. So we'll have that updated list. But right now it's under-ripened tomatoes, winter squash, freshly harvested apples, onions. Eric, let me know if there's anything else that can be transported without refrigeration. But otherwise, we are going to be requiring the refrigeration transport if you are self-delivering still.
Garlic too, Tay?
I'm sorry?
Yeah,
Garlic
garlic
also?
included with onions similarly.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, kind of, I had a question, and I did talk with Eric a little bit, maybe I can refresh your memory. So what I was interested in doing was purchasing a refrigerated trailer or a refrigerated truck, and then which made me eligible for a grant, and then I could get on a route in this area and pick up and transport this local area for LFPA partners, and then either take that to Wapaka or distribute it to another food pantry. I don't know. I was just looking at other options where we do have some challenges with our location. That's kind of why I want to purchase a refrigerated trailer to help me get my product to the either the pantry or the food hub. So I didn't know if that was a possibility.
Yeah, if that's something you're interested in, I would connect directly with Food Hub, either with Eric or Tara, and see what the possibilities are for that, because Food Hub is using other aggregators across the state as subcontractors for transportation. So that could be something where there is a subcontract with you to provide transportation. So if that is something you're looking at, you can connect more with Food Hub on that for more information.
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate
thanks,
it.
guys.
You will see in the chat, we do have another program called the Resilient Food System Infrastructure Grant that will be coming out through DATCP. Hopefully we're releasing in later this year, early next year, and that will cover equipment like that. So that'll be something to keep your eye out for as well. I'll put the link for that program in the chat as well, just so I think there's probably a lot of producers that would benefit from that. So I will put that in the chat. Ben, you had your hand up, but now I see it's down. Just wanted to.
April kind of answered it, but I was just going to suggest we run a CSA replication program where we replicate 100 to 200 CSAs every single week. And then we distribute them out to families that can't afford CSAs. And so I was just going to offer that up to the group. I mean, that's what we'll be applying for, to increase the amount of CSAs that we can offer families. But that has worked wonderfully for us in Marathon County. It's been a program that has grown year over year with wide community support. And it has really taken off in just the sense of giving access to fresh vegetables that people just didn't even know was available. And so for us, it felt like I don't want to say easy, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of farmer work, it's a lot of labor, but it was one of the fastest ways to make sure that 100% of your funds are spent on food, but then also to just create that access. And so we've gotten a lot of attention for it here in Marathon County with our farm partners. And so if anyone wants to reach out to me, I can put my email address in the box, and I would love for like every community in Wisconsin to replicate it and do it as well, and steal that idea, because it's just been fantastic for our community. So
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Ben. Ryan, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm with the River Food Pantry in Madison. I had a few questions about the community partner grant. First off, just for the letters of commitment that you want from the other partners that will, like the distributors or the producers that we'll be working with, like what information exactly do you need in that letter?
Andrew, I think you're on, if you want to answer that one.
Hi, I work at the Department of Ag and am assisting with kind of putting together the RFP. For that letter of commitment, we just need to see that documentation that that particular partner, whether they're going to be at the front end of the supply chain, like a producer, or somewhere in the middle, or at the end, one of the buyers that will be distributing that food, the food access site. They just need to talk about their role and what that commitment is going to be, so that we have some kind of idea that the right people are in place, so that the food actually gets from the farm to the people that are underserved.
All right, so if we're the pantry, like we're essentially buying food directly from the local farmers and then distributing it to underserved populations. Like obviously our role in that is all the distribution elements and that sort of stuff.
Right.
And their role is essentially just like they're producing the food and selling it to us.
Yeah, and if you have your own transportation capacity there, then you wouldn't need a separate letter from someone who's going to be trucking it, or distributing it. And so you might, in your proposal, talk about how you have storage capacity and you have the ability to move food, but you would maybe want to get a representative mix of some of those farmers. You don't need to get a letter from every single farmer that you'll be buying from, but have some kind of documentation there that the farmer says, I will be growing and selling the produce into this. And we ask for some kind of like plan, some kind of price sheets, so we kind of get an idea of what you're planning on doing. We know that the growing season is never 100% predictable and that change is going to happen. That's okay, but just trying to like document that you kind of have your partners in place.
Sure. Yeah, that's helpful because we have our own refrigerated trucks and everything, so that wouldn't be an issue. So
yeah, in that proposal, then you would be talking about that. So then you would only talk about the missing, the only partners that you need would be the producers.
Okay, great. And then kind of along with that, just to make sure, like, do the partnering farmers need to be registered with LFPA in any way, or like, because obviously we have established partnerships, but I don't know that they have any previous contact with the DATCP or anything.
They don't need to be registered at all. We just want to see, we'll see those in your application and how, all of those partners are coming together. So
yeah, they don't need to be registered prior, but I think that the expectation would be that they do get onto the map. And we're responsible for reporting what happens. So I think having them do get plugged in, if you're awarded, it would be an expectation, but not prior.
Okay, great. And then one last question. Are there any restrictions on how we distribute the products beyond the usual transactional requirements? So essentially, like, we have one of our distribution programs is like we provide food to other like local neighborhood organizations that then do the last step of distribution to some of it. Like most of our programs are directly to the underserved people or households themselves. But like, is there a limitation on that, or would that be the sort of thing where they would then become an additional partner that they would also need to have a letter of commitment, and we could do it that way?
They would need a letter of commitment talking about their role.
Yeah, as part of the application, all partners need to be defined. And so we would want to know who those partners are, what their role is. And I also just wanted to add that there are qualifications for the producers that you're working with. They do need to be Wisconsin producers. And there's no resale that's happening. So, just to be clear on that, it's really, you're working with the producer or the processor that's sourced from Wisconsin farmers. Those are the products and the producers and processors we have outlined in that application.
Okay.
And that 80% of the food procured has to be from underserved growers.
And do you guys have any I see like your website has like a map and stuff, but you guys have like a list of like current producers in or like from around Wisconsin that would maybe help us source like additional potential partners?
There's the local food directory, and on the local food directory, you can filter LFPA. And if there's an LFPA producer that has, opted to be on the directory, that they'll come up. Last I looked, there were 56 producers there. And then there are some producers on there that are not currently LFPA producers, but have put themselves on the directory with intention.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Sam, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, thanks. So kind of going back to the school conversations that that were mentioned a little bit earlier. So I run a small for-profit organic veggie farm at the Farley Center, just outside of Madison. And I also work at like an free independent charter school. And I essentially donate kind of informally all of my extras to them. So something like a community partnership grant, would that be something? They're also a nonprofit. So like, is that some way to kind of like formalize that partnership? And if so, do they need would the school need to have any kind of like food safety requirement type stuff if it were something like a mutual aid program or, like you were saying, a backpack, program or whatever?
Yeah, the community partners grant would be a way, would be one way to go through that. Yes, you could apply that way and put your project together. And as long as the food wasn't going into the school meal program, that works. And then you would be paid instead of rather donated for your product, I assume, would be the plan. That could work.
Totally. And I could bring more then. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Crystal, you had your hand up next, and I know we're at noon, so we will keep answering questions for as long as people have them. But again, we will post this recording to the program website and as soon as it is up. So if you do have to jump off, we'll keep recording and you can just watch the end if you need. So Crystal, go ahead with your question.
Hi there. I actually had two questions. One was, is there, so our organization kind of sits in a very strange situation. We do lease some of so we're a nonprofit organization that we specifically target marginalized people, and kind of our goal is to like raise the next generation of seed keepers and land stewards. And so, but that's not all. Also, we are a residential community, so we're a nonprofit. People live on the property that is owned by the nonprofit, and then they farm. And traditionally, we've run as a CSA, and we've donated a lot of food, and done fundraisers to do those donations to the local community. But so what makes it difficult for us is that we like are both procurement. We are like, we aggregate, we procure, and we educate. But the people here aren't like having their own farm businesses. They are part of the organization and do that work. And so I'm wondering, like, what capacity does DATCP have within this community partners grant to like connect us with programs that then can apply and either purchase product from us or co-create something? Because we are, this last year we had some interns who did the LFPA individual farmer program, but generally like that isn't how we want to function in the way that we are working with agriculture. And so that's one question. And then the second question I had to do, I guess, more with technical assistance. So that's something that we're interested in growing, that portion of our program. And I guess this year, because it was new for everybody, I'm unsure like what the expectations are for technical assistant and how that is envisioned to be happening. So we've done some technical assistance hours, but we've done over 100 hours, but that we've billed for, but then we have like an additional 100 hours we've probably done. And there isn't really any clear path for me to understand, like, what is the invoicing rate for that? Like, what are you expecting that we charge per hour of technical assistance? Are there different types of technical assistance that you're billing differently? And so I really need to see, like, I'm interested in supporting technical assistance for farmers who don't even farm on our property. And I'm also there just hasn't been a lot of clarity. I feel like it's kind of been put up to us to kind of decide what it is, but then, and I'm not really, I see like there's a lot of issues with that, especially if we're not connected specifically with farmers who are needing that technical assistance who are already within the LFPA program. And I'll take my answer offline.
Great. I don't know, Tay, do you want to respond to the technical assistance questions?
Yep. So applying to be a community support organization, there you can, and we can this next year kind of spell that out a little better of what is required like in your contract and like how many hours you have, what the responsibilities for providing technical assistance are, and what farmers in your area you can work with, like, so we can provide that more information, and then Victoria will have more info on that as well. So you can reach out directly to her. I can put her info in right here in the chat here. So that you could reach out to her and kind of ask those questions about like what specifics for technical assistance and what area you're looking at. But the community support organization, applying to be a community support organization would be the way to go for that. I hope, did that answer? Is there anything else specific you're looking? Victoria will have more info on that for sure.
And then April, I don't know if you want to tackle the first part of Crystal's question.
Yeah, so Crystal, I would encourage you to look at the RFP for the community partner grants and kind of start to define what kind of project you want to do and who all of the people, who all the players are in that project, and what their roles would be. And then if you're finding like, oh, we really don't have an end user identified and we need to better identify that, or we, if you can identify what you still need, then Katie and I can jump on a call with you, or you can come to the office hours and we can kind of help you flesh out or connect you to somebody in your area that we think might be a good partner for you to contact.
Crystal, did it answer your questions then? Or at least get you to the next step?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm having a hard time with my computer. Yeah.
We get that. We get that. Great. Thanks. So we'll move to the next question. I'm sorry if I messed your name up. Padraig? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's Patrick, but yeah, don't stress that at all. I'm with I'm with Stepping Stones of Dunn County, and we have a pretty good relationship with farmers here. We had a program that preceded the LFPA, but the LFPA grant last year bolstered some of the contributions from some of those growers. What I'm wondering about moving into this coming year as a community partner, looking at that side of the grants, I guess two questions, and I'll try to keep them brief. One is how do we provide documentation for partner growers being underrepresented? Would that be in the letters of commitment that they provide? And what communities would count as underrepresented for that 80% of the 70%? So that's one question. And then the second is, if we have growers who are already on the more traditional path of the LFPA and they're providing food for us, but we need additional funding to help take advantage of that, we wouldn't want to double dip and say we're purchasing their food from the community partner side, because that food would also already be provided from the current LFPA. But we would want to count those pounds as capacity that we would want supplies or personnel to process. How would we present that with those pre-existing LFPA growers?
I can take that, and Andrew, maybe you can correct me or or add to what I bring. But so farmers self-identify, and it's socially disadvantaged and historically underserved producers as defined by the USDA, and I believe that is laid out in the RFP or in the frequently asked questions section, so you can look there. Farmers are able, and then if I understand your second part of your question correctly, there are farmers that will be direct to farmer grant recipients, and also you would like to participate in a community partner grant.
Yes.
Okay, so you would just kind of run that as two separate pieces in terms of paperwork. Like farmers can participate in both tracks if they have the capacity to supply, and we can increase their potential for sales. That's the goal. So they can participate in both tracks, and you would just run those as separate types of accounts. If you're following me, you would track that financially separately.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Andrew, did you want to add anything?
Nope, that answers it.
Great. There was one question in the chat. It said, would there need to be a W-9 documents for the community grant example? Nonprofit A purchased from Farm B. Would Farm B required to complete the W-9 for the nonprofit A? That feels like an Andrew question.
Well, if you needed to report that for your own tax purposes as a 1099, then you would get a W-9 when you're buying produce. But I think that's a question that you need to figure out. But DATCP wouldn't need a W-9 from that farmer, because we would just have that contract with you.
Great, thank you, Andrew. Another question was, will there be a published community partner that farmers will be able to partner with? So do we have, so it's going, farmers to find community partners. Do we have a list like that? Or is that maybe I would suggest come to the office hours, see who's attending, and then maybe that's where those connections could be made. We don't have an official list, I would say.
Forrest did share the directory.
Yep, so the directory of farmers. So
that does help too.
Yep. Okay. I'm sure there are some in the chat I missed, but I think we've got most of them. Is there anyone else that has any other questions that wanted to raise their hand and unmute, and we can get them answered that way? Kim, did you have questions?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, and maybe this was already answered. I think there was like 2 people back. I think it was a lady, and she was, you know, talking about how she services the underserved community, and I can't say it as eloquently as she said it, but I'm a LFPA grower. However, I also am a member of an organization here in Madison, Occupy Madison. And when I say we, I'm talking about on that end of, because that I'm a volunteer with. And we started growing food and this year medicinal herbs and flowers for our community, and we usually give it out for free. And I'm wanting to find out how can, you know, Occupy Madison be able to participate in the community grant, so that what we already do for free, now we could do as far as us Occupy being able to offer it as a as a nonprofit.
Hey, Kim, nice to see you on the call. I think, I don't know enough about Occupied Madison, but I'm thinking maybe this ties into Sheena's question earlier about how nonprofits can engage community partner grants as, you know, a connector and an organizer between farmers and projects like this. So if there's someone in a leadership position at Occupied Madison that could review the RFP, maybe there's somebody else, you know, within that network that they could connect with and discuss and kind of work through, you know, what are these partnerships and do we have a project here that is eligible for this grant?
Okay. And on that RFP, does it also say anything about payroll, like how we're supposed to handle, Occupy is supposed to handle payroll?
Give that to Andrew.
We don't have anything specific. That would fall into that 30% is the max that you could spend for those overhead or distribution related costs.
And does it answer all your questions then?
At this time, yes.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Thank you. A question came in. Are there any resources available to help with the application and finding partners for nonprofit food pantries? So Lisa, is it so that you're looking for help to actually just do the application? Is that correct?
Hi, I can probably manage the application myself. My issue is as I'm searching for community partners, I'm having, there's really no, there's one farm, I think, in my area. So, again, you may have answered this already. We can use farmers that are not in the directory, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But do we have to get documentation from them?
No, they just,
Just need to be listed.
What was that?
They just need to be listed on the application.
Correct.
Okay, got it. So I'm making it much harder than it needs to be.
No, it's a lot to think through and to piece together. So we understand, like, just asking the question helps, you know, the thoughts flow to. But yeah, if you have other questions, otherwise, yep, the directory is a place to start.
And I will add that we're not that we need a letter of commitment from every single producer, but you know, we've talked about like price list and a letter of commitment that talks about, you know, having some of those farmers say, yes, we commit to being a part of your project, and we're going to grow for it. It's not that we don't trust people that list farmers, but we're just asking for a little bit of documented commitment from the voice of all those supply chain partners, not just you listing them in your application.
Okay, so when I complete the application, do I also have to complete the proposal? Or is that
I'm not
something?
sure what you mean by that.
So there's two tabs listed.
Oh, the request for proposals?
Yes, is that what is?
That's like the instructions. So that's what you need to read at
Great.
least 3 times, most likely, to like digest it all. And that'll give you like the rules that you have to follow, and like when you submit it and how you submit it and all that kind of stuff. The
Got it.
application is the only thing that you submit, along with those additional the additional documents. So like your price list or your letters of commitment, that kind of thing. As a package, you would combine them together into one thing that you submit.
Okay, got it. So this is the first go round for us ever.
Okay.
So I'm completely unfamiliar with the whole process and the grant program. So this is the first foray into it. So thank you for your assistance.
No
And
problem.
I encourage anyone who's applying for a grant to don't be shy about reaching out to the appropriate program staff person and calling them. It's not going to ever look bad on your application if you ask a question. It will look worse if you don't provide something in the right way or you forget something than if you had just called and gotten it figured out ahead of time.
Thank you.
Yep, and for sure to attend our office hours, the next 3 office hours we have, because then we can answer questions. And I'm sure if you have a question, someone else has that same question. So feel free to always be reaching out. Another question came through the chat. So farmers working directly with organizations with the community grant, they won't have to apply for the direct to farmer grant. They need to be listed in the application. So farmers can apply for both if they have capacity. They can apply on their own as the direct to farmer track, but they can also be part of a community partner organization if they have additional product that they can provide to the program. So they can do both if they want. Otherwise, you can just also apply for one, but they do need to be in the application. So hopefully that answers that question. If you need additional follow-up, let us know. Any other questions before we let you get to lunch? Okay, see none. Thank you again so much for joining us and spending so much of your time with us today. As soon as we have the recording available, we will put it on the localfood.org website for it to be rewatched then. And then as a reminder, sign up for our office hours, and we look forward to answering any questions in the next month or so before the application is due. So thank you all. Thank you, partners. Have a good afternoon.